Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando. That's Corey. And by request only is the only way we'd ever review this movie. But you pay us, apparently you get 1986's Soul Man. Before we get started, if you want to follow me or Corey on Twitter, even after this review, you could follow me at Junior D's. You could follow Corey at Corey_idol. And yeah, Corey.
Don't give him our real addresses for this show.
Give him another handle. Give him another handle. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram, you can follow us at Schmish the Refuge. You can follow us at Kiss the Reviews. And before we dive into this one, man, let's get into the cast of 1986's Soul Man. This film stars C. Thomas Howell as Mark Watson, Rae Dawn Chong as Sarah Walker, Arye Gross as Gordon Bloomfeld, and James Earl Jones as Professor Banks.
This is what I would like to know. Why there are the questions are myriad. I have one specific one. Because I usually go here anyway. The writer. Or writers. What was
Just
this
one.
like? What was this like in your mind? Like, okay, I have to have a main character, but he has to be black and pass for black. Did you come up with the name Mark Watson because it sounded ambiguously black or white? You couldn't just come up with John Smith? You know what I mean? Like, how fucked up are you?
Well,
how fucked up were you?
The writer, Carol Black. I didn't do a lot of research because I didn't want to for this film. Okay? You okay? You all right?
Did you just say the writer of this movie is a white woman named Carol Black?
Yes, I did.
God
yes,
damn.
I did.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
guys. That's all you need to know about this motherfucking movie. Jesus.
Who, by the way, has written on some very big television shows.
Yeah. The director also has done a couple of big movies, too.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that people still worked after this.
I know. For real. Listen, Pony Boy didn't work for a little bit after this. Like,
no, he plays like crooked cops now and says the N-word a lot, I think, like on Sons of Anarchy and shit.
Like that's all the parts he can get at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the plot of this movie, and I didn't even do research on this. For those people that are like, oh, you guys are going to see stuff about blackface. Yeah, we are. And if you haven't gotten, I didn't want this to get preachy, but if you're not on board with like blackface is bad, then maybe go watch another show. But
maybe roll your car into a pond with you in it.
But so we will be going there with some stuff on this. But if you're like, oh, people are too sensitive nowadays, this movie was protested against and boycotted and yada, 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 on down the line in 1986 or 87, whenever it came out. But this movie was a hot topic when it came out.
Oh yeah, Carol got him talking.
And we all know. So we're all in this agreement, right? This unwritten contract that blackface is bad, right? What is also bad is that there are black and white people both in this movie who don't look at C. Thomas Howell. He's the whitest white man to ever white. How do you not know within 5 seconds of meeting him that this is a white guy in blackface? Oh, I'm sorry. Tanning pills.
An overdose of tanning pills.
Let's get into this movie. Let's get into it because I'm sure we both got a lot of questions. So, Mark Watson, who is a rich white kid living in Beverly Hills, just got accepted into Harvard Law School with his best friend Gordon. And he then finds out from his rich parents that they're giving him the gift of not paying for his Harvard tuition. So he immediately has to start looking into scholarships, student loans that he has no luck at. And then he applies for a loan at a bank and he gets denied because his credit's shit.
Now, it's important to note here that Mark Watson is so rich and so white, it never dawned on him to get a job.
Yes.
That literally never even entered his mind.
You know what entered my mind immediately? It's like, okay, your parents are rich. Your credit's shit because you're young and irresponsible because your parents are rich. Fine. You can't get a loan. You can't apply for a student loan because your parents are rich, and you don't qualify for any scholarships. Your parents are rich. You could tell them, I will pay my way. How about this? You give me the loan, and then I'll go to school, which ends up happening at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was literally my first thought was like, well, just go to your dad and say, yeah, you don't have to pay for it. Give me a loan and I'll pay it back. I'll work it off and I'll pay it back to you over the course of, however many years. Drop a contract. You're rich white people. I'm sure you got lawyers and shit. Just drop a contract. But neither here nor there. Instead, he decides that, because he's, for lack of a better term, he's painted into a corner. And Mark decides that blackface is the way to go. So,
and to be clear, Mark is painted into a corner here the same way Jean-Claude Van Damme is painted into a corner in Nowhere to Run.
Yes. Yes.
You did not have to. There's a million things you could do, you spoiled fuck, before you decide to OD on fucking tanning pills and make yourself black.
Yes.
This shit is absurd.
In his head, he's painted into a corner. He has zero options at all. So he goes to a friend who's like a chemist that gives him tanning pills, and he exceeds the recommended dosage.
I exceeded the recommended dosage.
Let's say you exceed the recommended dosage. You're going to look like Magda from Something About Mary. You're not going to look like he ends up looking here. Just FYI.
Question, Professor.
Yes.
When he takes the tanning pill that looks like an Alka-Seltzer, and does the activate and mixture of his stomach acid produce the Jerry curl? Is that what sparks the activator in his hair? I
don't know.
Because that's never explained. And this motherfucker just walks in with a stone cold Jerry curl. And I will go a step further and to say, that motherfucker looks wet and is dry the whole time. So this kid perfected a Jerry curl overnight?
Yes.
The fuck out of here. Or give me these diet pills. They're amazing. Or these tanning pills, they're amazing.
I'm going to tell you this. The whole movie, I was like, okay, does he ever acknowledge that it's a wig? But I don't think it can be, because first of all, C. Thomas Howell has got some flowing locks, okay? Mm-hmm. He's got flowy white hair. So I don't know how they could have turned that into a Jerry curl, because they can't. So it's in my head, I'm like, it's got to be a wig, but he's like sleeping with people. People are, listen, we've all seen white people, and he's going to Harvard. They're touching his hair. Can we just say that that's a thing? Okay. But this wig never moved. Like, is it just glued to his head? I'm like, I just need somebody to acknowledge what the fuck is going on here.
Yeah. His hair's pretty fucked up.
As ridiculous as the tanning pills are, how he got that head of hair is never explained. So, whatever. Cool. I guess we're bought into this shit-ass story.
Yeah, he's black now.
Yes. So, and while being black, the racism immediately begins towards him, and no one realizes that he's a white guy in blackface. And How, and I know I addressed this at the beginning, how does nobody know that he wasn't black? This is the biggest slap in the face to Rae Dawn Chong and to James Earl Jones in this movie. That they don't realize a Harvard-educated professor doesn't look... Okay, this is how I would have known. Just FYI. If I'm James Earl Jones or Sarah in this movie, the first time he said, "Looks like I screwed the pooch," I'd be like, "You're a white guy in blackface." Okay? When the waitress comes over to the table with the check and he asks what the damage is on the bill, I'd be like, "You're a white guy in blackface." When he told Sarah to pull herself up by her bootstraps to get herself through Harvard, at no point anybody realized what this dude was doing. I think that's the biggest insult to every black character in this film.
You were right.
We could talk about it and get into it and dissect this from every different angle, and it all comes out bad. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
I can't even, it's kind of like you said at the beginning. If you don't know that this movie is shit because
Yes.
a white guy is pulling off blackface successfully throughout an entire semester of college, you need to fuck off, dude. We can't help you. And I don't have the time or the inclination to be your fucking Sherpa on your guide out of the racist fucking tunnel. Not my job,
Well,
dickface.
here's the other thing.
I'm skipping all of the blackface of it all and going to the other portions of it. Like, how did the city of Boston or Cambridge, Massachusetts not sue because everyone in Boston is the most racist human being I have ever met in my life?
Listen, is that not true? You've lived in Boston. I'm assuming
look,
that's
there's
true.
some slight segregation still. Sure.
Boston is not painted in a good light in this movie at all.
No. Like, I have friends that'll still be like, I don't understand why people think Boston's racist. It's like, have you seen the movie Soul Man?
Is it possible this story is true? Yes, it is.
So he immediately here meets Sarah Walker and begins trying to court her, but she thinks he's an asshole. Mark and Gordon then see a girl moving in next door, a white girl, and they see her white racist dad. Their landlord's this big racist fuck that works for her dad.
I'm going to actually cut Leslie Nielsen's racism a little slack here because he was a cop with O.J. Simpson, and you know how that all went. So
That's
he's
fair.
just like, you know what? I can't trust him. Like, he just fucking lost his mind.
Every time I saw him on camera, I was like, there's going to be a fart joke coming. Like, there's a fart joke coming at some point soon.
It's weird watching some older movies with Leslie Nielsen as a serious actor.
Yes.
Yeah, you're just like, you're going to fart? You're gonna compliment somebody's beaver or some weird sexual innuendo? Like, something's got to come out of you right now.
Exactly. Not all of this racism. But we then get the basketball montage here where he's a black guy, but he can't play basketball because he's not really black. And this, I'm going to do this because there's this scene.
I can't even look in the camera right now. Like, I'm just like...
Because there's a lot of these scenes. It's him running into like the two like racist jokesters like in the library and yada yada. There's the basketball montage, and then they run into their friends from back home that have seen his face every day for however long, and they don't know that that's Mark because he puts on sunglasses and pretends he's deaf Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, and this bougie ass fucking best friend.
Yes.
That's like,
Dude.
I'm the Styles of this Teen Wolf movie. Fuck off. Dude, like, your improv is shit.
No, he's just dumb.
Well, this then leads into him sleeping with Pam from The Office, the white chick that lives next door, and her inviting him to dinner with her rich white parents, who Leslie Nielsen is the dad. And this dinner scene, I'm not showing any clips of this dinner scene because fucking wow.
So this is kind of the, like, if you're like, oh, it's blackface, but it's a comedy and the point at the end, fine, I'll let you believe that. Now explain every other scene in between this movie where
Yes.
it is just the most racist, stereotypical, disgusting 1930s Southern don't let them vote poster I have ever seen made in my life.
Yes.
It is so insulting.
No,
it's so gross.
It is. And like I've seen a lot of stuff online about this movie because I didn't want to go into this completely blind. And there are people that like, oh, the ending and the blah, blah, blah. Listen, let's remove, like you said before, let's remove the tanning pills of it all, right? This movie, beginning to end, is just not good. Just regardless of racist, whatever you believe, that's fine. The movie by itself is not a good movie. And the lessons learned, and we'll get there. Hold your fucking horses on lessons learned. But we'll continue with this one. So he then gets arrested for being black on a Tuesday, gets no sympathy from Professor Banks. And after hanging out with and studying with Sarah, they become close. And he finds out that he took the scholarship away from her. And so he feels bad now, and he goes to come clean, but Professor Banks instead recommends that he join like the University Student Judiciary Council for whatever reason. Like, this is, okay, if the movie wasn't bad enough, this is where the movie like kind of goes off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, and I know I was like, oh, poor Boston at the beginning of this movie. But when he goes to jail and he runs into the Boston sports fans,
yes,
and they exchange some words with him, ask Carl Crawford, that is pretty much Boston sports fan experience. Oh, they're 100%. Pretty vile. Those guys that end up in jail and all fucked up because they got drunk and like decided to beat up an 8-year-old in the bleacher seats at Fenway.
Yeah.
Those guys are fucking vile. And they
100%.
do exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there's more scenes now after he gets home of him almost getting caught in blackface. And then you get Pam from the office again in his bedroom. His parents are in the kitchen. Sarah comes over to study. And you get it's technically a cliched scene where you're like going in between rooms and you got to pretend to be this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. But you're just doing it all in blackface. But like this whole scene is awful. And this is where he like comes out to Sarah and to everybody that he's really white. And then nobody believes him.
Not a soul believes him. Even though his white ass rich fucking parents are right. Let me tell you something. Sarahs of the world. Those parents, those white parents, are not adopting a little black child. That is not happening.
No.
That boy is white. Period. That is the only way they are calling him son.
Yes.
Unless that's like his fucking caddy on the golf course.
So Whitney's father then comes by, punches Mark in the stomach, serves Mark and Gordon some eviction papers.
Corey's life lessons.
Hi. Guy's fucking a person's daughter, Uncle Corey. When the dad comes over and punches you in the stomach and he's like, fuck you, buddy, and then he just walks away, tell him how his daughter tastes.
Hell yes.
That's a Corey original.
She tastes like sardines and fucking bolognese sauce, bitch.
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
They don't like that. They don't like that. They feel really grossed out by it.
So Mark and Gordon then concoct this plan to call the Student Judiciary Committee to come forward as a fraud. And Gordon comes in, he gives his opening remarks, and then Mark reveals his white self to the council.
Gordon's opening remarks here are what I imagine Donald Trump Jr. doing when he goes into court on like these fraud trials. Just like, everyone, I am here! It is loud and makes no sense, but I am doing a demonstration to get my friend out of trouble. and I'm going to get right in your face, Mr. Professor Judge. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Mr. Professor Judge.
Sorry, Dr. Professor Judge. I don't want to be insulting.
Well, and everybody here, when, they see the white guy, everybody replies with like, oh, no wonder.
No wonder. No wonder.
No wonder.
So in the background of this whole movie, right, Julia Louis-Dreyfus and her boyfriend, Brad, are like networking, and they're these guys. Hi, everybody. They're the ones that are constantly trying to push, and Brad knows he needs a one-up because if he doesn't get into Harvard, he's stuck at BU, and that's not as good as Harvard Law. So there's this whole backstory where now Brad is on the waiting list to get into Harvard Law with everybody else, and Mark can't have him be in Harvard Law because then he'll see me and he'll know I'm Mark Watson, but I'm white. And so there's this whole thing going on, and then Brad finds out Mark is pretending to be this black guy that stole the scholarship, and I'm going to bust him out. And the payoff to that is he comes in after Mark has already outed himself and is standing in front. So what you're telling me is, Carol Black, this whole fucking arc for Brad and his dumb shit bitch fucking girlfriend was not necessary in any way, shape, or form. It had no payoff for anyone.
No.
Nothing happened.
No, the whole movie has no payoff.
Thanks for the waste of time. No, he understands what it means to be black now because he has no idea what it means to be black now.
Yeah.
That's the payoff, buddy.
And here's the other thing. the Giga Chad or whatever the rich white dude's name is, he finds out that Mark has the scholarship for, the black person in LA or whatever by randomly walking by. For somebody who goes to BU, he sure is at fucking Harvard in the halls every goddamn day. Let's start there. But B, he's walking by a random bookcase and they're walking pretty fast and he's like, what? Mark Watson is white, not black. Even with the shitty arc that he has, you could have had him find out in another way besides walking by a bookcase and randomly catching it out of the corner of your eye in the midst of 85 other trophies and shit that are in the thing. Whatever. But now we get to lessons and things because Mark then meets with Professor Banks after this, kangaroo court or whatever, and they meet privately. Mark agrees to give reparations and tells him the lessons that he's learned. And Professor Banks then tells him there will be no charges filed and he can still stay at Harvard because he, unlike a lot of other white people, finally knows what it's like to be black. To which Mark responds, no, I don't, because I could have gone back to white whenever I wanted to. And James Earl Jones, with a straight face, had to go, you've learned more than I thought you would have learned. Good on you.
You've learned a great deal more than I thought.
So not only by committing fraud, okay, forget the blackface of it all. He committed fraud against Harvard Law School. Law school, not their arts program. Okay, Harvard Law. So no criminal charges are filed. As long as he pays back the scholarship that Sarah now has with interest, he is now allowed to come back and continue his education at Harvard. As long as he works in the cafeteria or the dining hall or whatever. So literally at the end, there are no lessons learned. He wins and gets everything he's ever wanted, except that he's got to work to get it now.
Yeah.
That's the end.
And by the way, his dad gave him the loan
to
go back to school. And he only has to work a cafeteria job in the school to pay back this loan, which is kind of like when my dad would give me like money as a kid and be like, clean the house. And I'd be like, I picked up my shoes. Thanks. and I was out the house.
Exactly.
There's no penalty here. And the amount of times this motherfucker, from the point he shows up in the professor's office as a white person until the very end when he's made all his confessions to Sarah as a cafeteria worker now, the amount of times this dickhead says, you haven't learned shit. It ain't about you, you spoiled fuck. But I have, I want, I did, I want to, I need to, I should, I learned. Shut the fuck up about yourself for 5 minutes, Mark.
Yeah.
God damn, you haven't learned anything because you are still the whitest motherfucker on the planet.
Exactly. Well,
only concerned with himself.
And to cap this whole turd off, right? To put a cherry on top of the shit sandwich that we just got. Mark then sees Sarah in the dining hall, and she's with her son, and he's working as like the busboy or whatever. He apologizes, and then we get the two racist jokesters that come in, and he punches them both out because he's white and he's angry at racist jokes. So he punches them out, and then at first Sarah's like, no, I can't do this, yada, yada, I'm still hurt. And then he follows her outside and she's like, oh, I guess, like, it's all good. Like, and then they got like their arms around each other and the movie ends as they're walking away. So not only is he getting the education that he wanted and he's getting everything, he's also getting the girl that was like, yo, motherfucker, you did like blackface to me. Like, to me. This wasn't like
to my grandparents.
Yes.
To my child.
Yes.
To my child. You talk to my child about being black. Fuck you.
This is fucking ridiculous. And the thing that pissed me off the most, and I don't even know, I'm sure you noticed it because you notice stupid things like this. Like after he punches the two like white jokester guys.
Dude. I was waiting my turn.
And the basketball guy's like, mm-hmm.
No, he doesn't do that because that's how a human being would respond. What he does is, gee, this motherfucker, I got this motherfucker chicken heading. Nod! He's a person. He can nod like a person. Dude, the amount of those little things in this movie, because you're right, I 100% noticed that, and I was just waiting to say it. But the amount of those things in this movie, I can push blackface off to the side because I've seen it so much from everywhere. I mean, for Christ's sakes, there were elected officials that were in blackface in college that have come up and have been reelected. So you want me to get on the blackface bandwagon? I will. It's wrong. But also, you didn't need to tell me that. And I don't think I need to tell other people that. You either get it or you don't. My biggest problem with this movie is these fucking microaggressions they put in here. And these little digs at what stereotypical black people are. Just fuck, it's disgusting, dude.
Yeah.
And it's not fun. Like, I know a lot of people be like, oh, it's funny, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. And I will give you an example of the difference. I constantly and will proudly say that Tropic Thunder is my number one comedy of all time. I love that movie. Robert Downey Jr. is in blackface that entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
The joke is on him the entire time. He's the idiot. It's like an Always Sunny thing.
Yep.
It's on Hollywood allowing that to happen instead of just hiring another black man on the film.
Yep.
That's the joke. The joke is literally on, I fooled all of you.
Yep.
The joke is on everybody else. He's in the right, and like you said, he wins.
Yep.
He wins in this. That's the fucking problem. What lesson is there to really be learned? You donated some money to the NAACP? Get in line with every fucking Republican that ever wanted a fucking vote. Who gives a shit?
Absolutely. Dude, this whole movie, and again, just from a story perspective, and before the tanning pills, this movie from opening to, oh my God, tanning pills, opens like every other 80s comedy ever. Every cliche, every detail, every nuance, every single thing in this opening. Even if it was just like, oh, and then he finds a way and he blah, 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 and he goes to Harvard and he's just white the whole time. This whole movie's already dumb and cliched and isn't awesome to start. Story-wise, it's not good. Like, so, dude, this whole movie, I don't know who requested this. I know we got paid for it and we're whores, so why not do this movie? But at the end of the day, I don't think I've seen this movie, let's call it fucking 30 years longer. So I don't remember a lot about this movie. All I remember was C. Thomas Howell was in blackface for this entire movie. And I do remember hearing about, because I was like, obviously somebody had to have issues with it, but a lot of people did. Spike Lee had issues with it. There were people protesting and blah, blah, blah. This was a big deal when this movie came out. And the only response was, it's a comedy, like it's fine. And it's like, okay, well, let's take a look at it now. Let's take a look at it now. And I went, oh, you might have thought you were writing a comedy, but this was just not good at all.
No, I can appreciate anybody attempting satire. What I do not appreciate is you actually putting that shit on film and then sending it out and making people pay to watch it. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. Like, this is a student project that should have failed.
I'll defend comedy to the day I die.
Yep.
This one's just it's just hard to defend. You can't.
No.
Because I mean, whatever. This movie's a giant turd. Not a fan of it. But yeah, let us know what you think. Or you know what? Better yet, don't. Watch the review and give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel instead.
And if you're a fan of Soul Man, unsubscribe here.
Hell yes.
All right. That's all I got. Do you got anything else?
God, no.
All right.
Get me out here so I can wash this off me.
For Corey, I'm Armando. This is Kiss the Reviews, and this was 1986's Soul Man.